Yesterday, Braxphone hosted a Wuthering Waves tournament called Holo Gauntlet, which while I found the concept very interesting, there were some issues with execution. Today we're going to talk about what I think could be improved and give some feedback and ideas for how this could be done better in future. Also, for the people who will watch this and say that I'm taking things too seriously, that's the whole point of this video, to discuss what the tournament could be. If you want the tournament to just be a clown fiesta on fire, that's perfectly fine, that's just not the goal of this video. Also, I didn't really know Sweetly before this tournament, and I'm not trying to take away her achievement. Solo Rover Hikari 6 is insane. Oh, and we aren't going to talk about the cheating or players crashing out using 2 units. While it made for really funny content, down the line it would just make people not want to watch. Deadass just blacklist these people from participating. I know it was a pre-planned joke, I'm just saying if people were to act like this unironically. Obligatory plug before we get into the video, I'm trying to stream like 4 or 5 times a week here and on Twitch, studying Japanese while doing my gacha dailies and playing some Tribe 9 for review purposes. So feel free to come and tell me why my opinions on everything are wrong. Also, the VTuber model is staying until Tectone buys me a better one or money magically spawns on my desk. With that said, let's talk about how we can improve Holo Gauntlet. So I just want to start by saying that I think this tournament is a fantastic idea. In fact, I think it'd be taken much further and could be a fantastic way to bring the community together and give them something to look forward to regularly. But for that to work, there's things we need to clean up. I'll be using examples from a small rhythm game I used to play called Osu. If you're already familiar with the game and understand why it's relevant to today's topic, there's timestamps below to skip past it. But if you're unfamiliar with the game and its tournament scene, I ask that you give me just a couple minutes to give you a foundation that I can refer back to exemplify my suggestions, especially later on in the video. As I just stated, Osu is a rhythm game created by a single dev who now has a small team to help him with updating and improving the game. We have official and unofficial tournaments, which are all run by the community, with official tournaments being run by groups of people in collaboration with the developer, and unofficial tournaments being run by literally anyone who wants to run one. Games are typically best of 3 or best of 5, sometimes more, and are between 1v1 and 4v4. Before the tournament, there's usually a stream announcing the players or teams. We then get a map pool showcase where we see a pre-recorded clip of someone playing through each of the maps, typically without missing a note, but for top player tournaments, these maps are insanely hard to not miss on. Then, typically within the week, we get tournament day. We start by seeing the teams and players who will be playing in the current match. From there, we see the map pool and in-game chat where players roll to see who bans first. In the Osu World Cup, each team gets 2 bans at the start. They then say their picks in between each song that is played, and just have some general chat in between songs, some good luck, have funs, and GG's. We then have an overlay where we see all the players playing the map at the same time, and we go between team A picks, highest score wins, team B picks, highest score wins. You get the point. Don't worry about tiebreakers, they aren't relevant to today's discussion. So before we move to talking about Holo Gauntlet, I'm just going to show a couple examples of what this looks like in practice with Osu, from the initial banning phase to some of the commentary that we see during the songs. Also, YouTube, please don't copyright strike me.
Left up, as will Nomad 5. So USA, I think, already probably has a good idea what their first 2 picks will likely be, and immediately double ban Nomad 2, Hidden 2, very planned out for that. Aim control, some reading elements. Obviously the Hidden 2, one of the hardest maps in the entire pool. Miles, to me, this is just them saying we don't want worst HR player to 1v9 us. Yeah, I don't think that anybody really wants that pick very badly, and Korea saying definitely not here at this point in time. It's going to be the Nomad 4. We're going to get the lengthy, challenging tech pick out of the South Korean selection here.
And he's cresting 1,000 combo with well over 99% accuracy. You look at the entire rest of the lobby, there are 3 players above 97. In the entire rest of the lobby, he's the only one who can really, truly pop off on this map, and he's gonna make full advantage of it. When people call maps forum maps, this is what the hell they're talking about.
What is this score from worst HR player? The rest of the lobby is falling apart.
Okay, enough Osu. How does any of this apply to Holo Gauntlet? So let's start from the pre-tournament. Firstly, I think that which bosses fought and during which stage should be announced at least like 2 days before, with a clip of someone doing a solo run or something while casters talk about that boss. I also think that more holo bosses need to be included. I know earlier bosses are easier, but that's the point. Let's widen the number of contestants. You can even do a screening or seeding process. Especially if we cut out the huge amounts of wasted time we had in between bosses, we could have 5 or 6 holo bosses and still have a shorter tournament than what we saw yesterday. I think that assuming everything had gone to plan, the tournament would have been over pretty quickly, and I think it would be cool if every other month or something, we had this full day event that the Woowa community could come together on. Another thing is addressing the lack of balance regarding echoes and dupes. I'm not sure how realistic this is, to be perfectly honest, but let me throw something out real quick. In an ideal world, we would have at least 2 accounts of similar level, either all 0 dupes, or we could do max dupe 4 stars, no dupe 5 stars, whichever works best. For echoes, we could just have preset loadouts where we try to balance key stats like crit and ER between the 2 accounts. Obviously, making these accounts now could be a bit challenging since you would need all the old units to see reruns, but people do literally have account managers who are paid to maintain accounts. So the sooner these accounts are made, the sooner we can start putting together these tournament accounts, for lack of better phrasing. I'm not going to tell Brax or anyone else how to spend their money, but of course, monetary investment would help with getting 1 copy of every character and 5-star weapon, as well as wave plate refreshes. You could run into issues with trusting people to not mess with the account. I don't know if Kuro would ever make essentially modded accounts for tournament purposes. That's probably reaching way too far, but I'm just trying to throw out ideas. For tournament day, I think the pick ban system has a lot of ways it can be done. The simplest way, in my opinion, is 4 bans, where you start with 1 ban phase, then place the second set of bans either after the first pick or second picks, and no picking of the same character. You could add more rules, for example, making healers exempt from bans, but if we get more hybrid characters like Bran, it can be very awkward to categorize units, and ultimately, keeping it simple tends to work out better. For pick ban presentation, I'm not really going to complain, since not only did Brax say the website was made on very short notice, but he also acknowledged that the bugs were a problem. So instead, I just want to give some ideas. I think there are 2 routes that we can take. First is a live pick ban, which is what we see in Osu. When a team decides what to ban, it's outlined with their team color and darkened. For picks, we get that same outline but without the darkening. The second route is something we see in something like Valorant. Hear me out, I know Brax isn't Riot Games. Here, the picks and bans are done off stream, and before the match, we're shown a graphic of how they went. We could even replace these map screenshots with the character's idle animation, kind of like what we see for the selected characters behind the players here. Maybe we could even find a way to bring these ideas together, but again, I'm just spitballing some thoughts. For in-game presentation, I think we should definitely aim to have both POVs on screen at once. Here's an example of a 1v1 in Osu and how it's done there. I don't think it's possible to have live health bars on the overlay, especially the way we show score difference in Osu, but just being able to see everyone's POV I think is a must moving forward. I'm not a designer, but I'm sure there are plenty of people in the community willing to design something. It's also just a cool opportunity to shout out smaller artists, maybe with a different overlay every iteration of the tournament. Some other suggestions I want to throw out are to run player and talent trials. Basically, before tournaments, either offline or even on stream if you want to make content out of it, look at viewer submissions of them casting over a previous match to be able to scout talent that can cast over the games. This also means that instead of one duo casting for potentially hours, you have a few different duos on rotation. Similarly, players can send in clears along with their builds to make sure it's not just an investment diff, to scout out players for a more competitive tournament. We could even feed this into a bigger tournament right before a major patch or something, where all previous winners speed run the holograms, no limits, fastest time wins. Something that we'll even see in things like Osu and Valorant and other tournament scenes is show matches. So sometimes before we get a big grand final or a big ending game, we'll give the viewers something to chew on by having a show match. Typically, you're not looking for something incredibly competitive or something high level, you're just looking for the biggest names in the scene to have a fun game together where they just mess around to give people something to watch before the finale. Again, some of this may be hard to implement, but I chose Osu as an example because that game would be nothing without its community and tournament scene. That game is completely community driven with no corporate funding. Even the maps you see them playing are all made by the community. Players will go out of their way to even try to commission songs from artists, again, with no corporate help. I even used to make maps myself and participate in tournaments back when I was playing the game actively. If a group of people with potato PCs and a passion for the game can get to a point where the biggest CC created the Roundtable, a LAN event for top players to compete in live, I'm sure this community can make something amazing too. Hopefully Brax will see this and find some things interesting. I want to know what you all think as well, since I think tournaments have a lot of potential, especially in a game like Wuthering Waves. But that's all from me. Stay safe, everyone.